Most people don't think long-term, not because they're incapable, not because they're unintelligent, but because their life never gives them the space to. Everything around them pulls attention toward now, today's problems, today's pressure, today's urgency. And when everything feels urgent, the future disappears. People wake up already behind, already reacting, already responding to demands they didn't choose. By the time the day ends, there's no energy left to think past tomorrow. And this repeats, day after day, year after year. This is how short-term thinking becomes permanent. Most people don't plan their future. They manage the present. They solve what's loud. They fix what's breaking. They respond to what's demanding attention. And because they're constantly solving problems, they feel productive. But productivity is not direction. You can be extremely productive and still move nowhere meaningful. Long-term thinking requires distance. Distance from urgency. Distance from noise. Distance from emotional pressure. And most people never create that distance. They tell themselves they will think long-term later, when things calm down, when life is more stable. But stability never arrives on its own. Life fills any space you don't protect. So the future keeps getting postponed. This is where people get trapped without realizing it. They confuse being responsible with being reactive. They confuse handling life with designing it. And over time, their decisions shrink. They stop asking where this leads. They stop asking what this builds. They stop asking if this compounds. They focus on relief instead. Relief from stress. Relief from pressure. Relief from uncertainty. Relief feels good in the moment. But relief doesn't create freedom. Relief resets the clock. Every time you choose short-term relief over long-term positioning, you delay progress without noticing. This is why long-term thinkers look calm. Not because life is easy for them, but because they're not reacting to everything. They're not pulled by every signal. They're not controlled by urgency. They decide first, then they act. Most people do the opposite. They act first, then they justify. Long-term thinkers accept discomfort early so they don't live with regret later. Short-term thinkers avoid discomfort now and live with it forever. This difference is invisible at first. Early on, both lives look similar. Same work, same effort, same pressure. But time exposes the gap. Because long-term decisions compound, short-term decisions expire. Thinking long-term doesn't mean predicting the future. It means positioning for it. It means asking different questions. If I continue this for 5 years, where do I end up? If I stop this today, what actually breaks? If I remove myself, does anything still function? These questions scare people, because honest answers force responsibility. They reveal wasted effort. They reveal misalignment. They reveal how much energy is being spent just to maintain the present. So most people avoid the questions. They stay busy instead. Busy keeps the future blurry. Busy keeps the present overwhelming. Busy keeps decisions small. This is why most people live in short loops. Same goals, same problems, same cycles. They don't fail. They repeat. Long-term thinkers break repetition by slowing down. They reduce inputs. They narrow focus. They remove what doesn't compound. From the outside, this looks like doing less. From the inside, it feels like control returning. Control over time. Control over attention. Control over direction. Long-term thinking is not about doing more. It's about deciding what deserves years of your life and what doesn't deserve another day. That decision alone changes everything. Because once direction is clear, urgency loses power. Noise becomes optional. Pressure becomes manageable. You stop chasing everything and start building something. building doesn't look dramatic. There are no constant wins, no daily reassurance, no visible progress early on. That's why most people abandon it. They want proof before patience. They want certainty before commitment. But long-term thinking requires faith in structure. Faith that alignment beats intensity. Faith that time works when effort stacks. Faith that silence is not stagnation. Most people never develop this faith. They interrupt it with urgency. They trade it for comfort. They abandon it for reassurance. And years pass. One day they realize they've been busy for a long time, but nothing durable was built. Not because they didn't work hard, but because they never gave the future space to exist. This channel is not about predicting outcomes. It's about choosing direction early, so time becomes an ally instead of an enemy. If you're still here, you already understand something most people avoid. The future isn't something you arrive at. It's something you prepare for, quietly, deliberately, over time. By the third minute, most people would already be uncomfortable. Not because the ideas are complex, but because they're familiar. They recognize themselves in them. And recognition is dangerous. Because once you recognize a pattern, you're responsible for it. That's why most people avoid long-term thinking. Not because it's hard, but because it forces honesty. Honesty about where their days are going. Honesty about what their effort is producing. Honesty about how much of their life is being spent maintaining, not building. Short-term thinking feels safer because it avoids those questions. If you only focus on today, you never have to confront 5 years from now. If you only solve what's urgent, you never have to ask what actually matters. Urgency becomes a shield against planning, a shield against responsibility, a shield against uncomfortable decisions. People tell themselves they're being realistic, but realism is often just avoidance. Avoidance of trade-offs, avoidance of commitment, avoidance of choosing a direction that excludes other options. Long-term thinking forces exclusion. It forces you to say no to things that feel productive but lead nowhere. It forces you to accept that not everything deserves your time. That not every opportunity is an opportunity. That not every problem is yours to solve. This is where most people resist. They don't want to close doors. They don't want to disappoint anyone. They don't want to feel like they're missing out. So they keep everything open. And when everything is open, nothing goes deep. Depth requires commitment. Commitment requires patience. Patience requires confidence in direction. Most people don't have that confidence because they never give themselves the space to develop it. Their lives are too loud, too many inputs, too many opinions, too many signals telling them what they should care about right now. And when the present is loud, the future becomes quiet. Eventually, it disappears. This is why long-term thinkers seem detached. Not cold, not arrogant. Detached from urgency. They don't react immediately. They don't rush to respond. They don't treat every problem like an emergency. That calm is misunderstood. People assume they don't care, or that they're slow, or that they're disconnected from reality. In reality, they're connected to a longer timeline. They measure decisions not by how they feel today, but by where they lead over time. That changes everything. It changes how they work, how they choose, how they spend energy. Short-term thinkers trade tomorrow for relief today. Long-term thinkers trade comfort now for options later. That trade feels unfair at first. You put in effort without feedback. You make decisions no one notices. You delay gratification without applause. That's why most people quit long-term thinking early. They don't see results fast enough. They mistake silence for stagnation. But silence is where structure forms. Structure doesn't announce itself. It doesn't demand attention. It quietly supports everything that comes after. Short-term effort collapses when pressure is removed. Long-term structure remains. This is why long-term thinkers obsess over systems, not outcomes. Outcomes are temporary. Systems persist. And persistence is what compounds. Most people never experience compounding because they interrupt it constantly. They change direction too often. They chase reassurance. They abandon alignment for momentum. Momentum feels good, but it burns out. Alignment feels slow, but it lasts. This is why years pass differently for different people. For some, 5 years disappear. For others, 5 years transform everything. The difference is not luck. It's not intelligence. It's not effort. It's whether decisions were made with tomorrow in mind or only today. Long-term thinkers don't predict the future. They prepare for it. They position themselves so multiple outcomes work in their favor. They build flexibility instead of chasing certainty. They invest time where it compounds instead of where it disappears. This preparation looks boring from the outside. No drama, no rush, no constant updates. But boredom is a sign that urgency has lost control. And once urgency loses control, clarity takes over. Clarity simplifies decisions. Clarity removes noise. Clarity makes progress sustainable. This is the moment most people never reach. Because reaching it requires slowing down in a world that rewards speed. It requires patience in a culture addicted to immediacy. It requires thinking when everyone else is reacting. That's why long-term thinkers are rare. Not because they're special, but because the environment doesn't encourage it. It rewards response, not reflection. It rewards speed, not structure. It rewards noise, not clarity. Choosing long-term thinking means stepping out of that reward system, quietly. And once you do, your timeline changes. Not overnight, not visibly, but permanently.